Hello everyone and welcome to my SoulSilver Hardcore Nuzlocke. And first things first, let me explain the rules. 1. You need to nickname your Pokemon.
Genitalia, happy 1000, you totally got me with that name.
Second, you can only capture the first Pokemon that you encounter in an area. C. If a Pokemon dies, he's dead forever, just like in real life.
You miss.
Fork, if all 6 of your Pokemon faints and the game whites out, then you lose, it's game over. Número 5. You must play the game in set mode. Sex, I cannot use items mid-battle. Items held by Pokemon are allowed though. 7-Eleven. I must respect women alone in parking lots and the next gym leader Ace's level cap. Number 8. I cannot get dupes, or for example, if I catch a Magikarp, I could not get a Gyarados later on. Number 9. 11. I can catch any Pokemon shiny that I find in the wild, and even if it is a dupe or whatever else, it overrides all other rules. And that's it. Hope you enjoy my suffering in this Nuzlocke. So, let's start, shall we? I call myself Hollow, and I go to the nerdy professor for my Cyndaquil, which I call Gwen. You see, there is a pattern for my names. For the first battle against my rival, I decided to overlevel my Cyndaquil up to level 8, because I can, since the level cap is 13, and because he is a ginger that deserves to die. And I also decided to name him Lautrec because I know he's gonna be a little fucker later on. For my first encounter on Route 29, I got a Hoot with Keen Eye, which I decided to call Adjudicator. And for my second encounter on Route 30, I get a Rattata? I don't know. And he has guts, but it doesn't matter because he's basically gonna be my HM boy. So yep, welcome to the team. I call him Royal Red Vanguard. In the Dark Cave, otherwise known as P. Diddy's booty hole, I capture a Geodude, which I called Havel, the Rock. My encounter for Route 31 was a Seki plant, also known as Bellsprout, which I called Bed of Chaos, the gimmick boss from the first Dark Souls. On Route 32, I capture a Wooper Double Wooper, and I kindly name him Pinwheel because of his funny face. Inside Sprout Tower, I get my last encounter before the first gym, a Ghastly, which I call Dark Lurker from Dark Souls 2. And unfortunately, in the fight against Master Roshi, I accidentally overleveled my Gwen, and even though he evolved, I won't be able to use him against Faulkner. And now it's finally time for the first gym. I start with Adjudicator because I knew he would keep spamming Sand Attack, and because I had the strategy of relying on luck and trying to put his Pidgeotto to sleep on the second part of the battle. And of course my 55% chance of hitting Hypnosis does not work, and we have our first casualty of the Nuzlocke. So I sub in Havel, and with 3 rock throws I can outdamage his roost, and with that I guarantee our first gym badge. Inside Union Cave, I catch myself a Zubat, which I call a Gil, the first dragon that you fight in Elden Ring. Inside Slowpoke, I decided to join forces with Team Rocket and grab myself one of them Slowpoke tails. Yummy. I decided to call it Golden Hypo from the Shadow of the Earth Tree DLC. After leveling up my Green and my Havel to the level cap, I can finally take on Bugsy. I start with Havel and use Rock Throw, and even though Scyther switches it out using U-turn to Metabot, I one-shot it and Scyther is right back in. And with my second Rock Throw, I one-shot Scyther too. He brings out Kakuna and I bring out Gwen to get some XP too. And that was the first easy gym leader battle in the game. Easy peasy squeeze the titty. And now it is time for the second battle against Lautrec, the Ginger Cunt. He starts with Ghostly, and I start with my Hevel. One rock throw is enough to deal with it. Then he brings in Croconaw, so I switch to Bed of Chaos. I put it slip and whip it. See you in a while, Crocodile. He brings in his Zubat, and I bring in my Hevel. And even though he confuses me, one rock throw is enough to put him down. And now, ladies and germs, it is time to catch my favorite bug type in all of Pokemon. Cause now I'm gonna get access to Headbutt, and it is time for Heracross. But first, on Elex Forest, I catch myself a Oddish and call it Earth Tree Avatar. In Azalea Town, I headbutt a tree, and unfortunately I get a Spearow. I call it Ancient Dragon from Dark Souls 2. On Route 33, I had skipped my encounter on the grass because I knew there was a chance for me to get a Heracross on the tree here. So we get lucky and I get my Heracross. I call it Smo. Just a quick trivia here, Smo is based on a Berserk character, a beetle pseudo-apostle that is shown in the arc of Lost Children. Now I went all the way back to Violet City, where I capture myself an Execute, which I call Angie, the egg dude from the Daughter of Chaos bonfire. On Route 34, I accidentally throw in my Geodude and it makes it over leveled for the next gym fight. So he's gonna have to sit that one out. In the same route, I get an Abra as my encounter, but it escapes the Pokeball and teleports away. And now it is time for one of the most feared gym leader battles in all of Pokemon Nuzlocke history. Whitney, the normal type gym leader. She starts with the Clefairy and I start with my Smo, and one Brick Break is enough to one-shot her Clefairy. Now it is time for her Milk Tank, and because my Heracross is a male, she starts with Attract, but it doesn't matter because my Milk Tank is a wife beater, so 2 Brick Breaks is enough to put her down. And you don't know how many times she ruined this run for me. Just look at the attempt number. On Route 35, I catch a Nidoran that uses Twitter too much, a she-her, and I called her Aldridge from Dark Souls 3. On Route 36, I catch myself a Vulpix, which I call Vicar Amelia, or Vicar Amelia, or whatever is the right pronunciation of that bitch's name. Get it? Because she's a female dog. On Route 37, I didn't catch any Pokemon because I was hoping to catch maybe a legendary for the post game, but something's happened and I realized that I had to use the Master Ball to capture Lugia, otherwise he would kill one shot most of my Pokemon, maybe all, and I was using Save State, which doesn't allow me to go past the Elite Four, and I already had a save from my first attempt that stupidly enough I did not delete. Inside the Burn Tower, I had to fight Lautrec for the 3rd time. He starts with Ghastly, which tries to lock me in with the main look, but one Flame Wheel is enough to bring him to red, so he switches out to Croconaw. I switch out to Smo, and with 2 Brick Breaks is enough to knock him out. Incoming his Zubat, which almost kills my Smo with a wing attack, so I had to switch out to Hevel, which can tank anything that he can give. And even with confusion, he knocks him out. He brings out Ghastly again, but the pressure is too much and he offs himself using a curse. He brings in Magnemite and I switch to Gwen, that even paralyzed and confused, solos it. Now I do my very best impression of Eustace to scare some dogs in the basement.
It's a risky business.
Boom!
Eustace, really?
Stupid dog.
My encounter in the burn tower is a coffin which I capture and call it Menace from Dark Souls. Before I fight the gym leader, I have to deal with this grunt that is harassing this white-faced lady using a Crash Bandicoot impression. Whoa! And now it's time for the ghost gym leader, Morty.
Oh, jeez, Rick. I don't know about that.
It sounded more like fucking Jordan Peterson than anything. After I taught Small Shadowclaw, he basically soloed the gym. So let's count with me how many times I spammed Shadowclaw. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was my 4th gym. Easier than 2 birds in the pants worth more than 1 in the stone. Something like that. So, you guys may realize that my execute won't evolve. That is because in this game there is 2 ways to get the leaf stone. One is through the bug catching contest and the other one is through the Pokeathlon Dome. And on top of that, the leaf stone only appears once a week. So I'm gonna save you guys the trouble of watching me go through this torture and just gonna go on ahead. I was near the bug catching contest and I was in the day that happened, so I decided why not? Maybe I'll catch myself a pincer or a scyther, and I got a Venonat. That's right. By the way, you may hear like fireworks on the background. That's because it's Christmas Eve. So yep, Merry Christmas, you hoes. On Olivine City, I was trying to catch myself a lantern, but I got a Krabby. I named it Vagrant, the rarest enemy in Dark Souls. On Cyanwood City, this weird dude here gives me a shuckle, and now it is time to fight Eugene. I'm gonna start with Smo here, because he's gonna start with a Drowsy and one Shadowclaw one-shots it. And then he brings in a Haunter and it is gone. Now it is his Electrode, and 2 Brick Breaks is enough to bring him down. And that was Eugene. Easy peasy. Before going in against Chuck, I evolve my Angie into an Executor, with an ability that I won't ever use in this playthrough. And now it is time for Chuck. I start with Smo, which is quad resistant to fighting moves, and he starts with his Primeape. Even if he sets 1 evasiveness, I 2-shot him using Aerial Ace. Now for his Poliwrath, I use Aerial Ace and doesn't even bring him to half health, and he uses Surf, which brings me down to yellow health. I gamble and use Aerial Ace again, which brings him down to red health, but his Citrus Berry heals him up. He uses Body Slam, which brings Smo down to 25 health, and I switch to NG, and 1 confusion is enough. And that is it, boys, we're over halfway there. On Route 43, I catch myself a Marip, which I call Ornstein. Now on Lake Rage, I get a guarantee encounter because it is a guarantee wild shiny, the shiny Gyarados, that I call Sith the Scaleless. Now on Monogamy Town, I gotta fight the first Petrol's team. He starts with Zubat and I start with my Gwen, and I just spam Flame Wheel for the win. Now for the fights against Ariana, I'm not gonna lie, I thought Lance was gonna carry my sorry ass, so I didn't really worry about it, but we both got paralyzed very early on. I nonchalantly switch to Havel and Arbok paralyzes it using Glare. Dragonite's Fly takes out Drowsy, But when he comes down, Arbok uses the same strategy, and now we're both paralyzed. One Magnitude 6, that also crits, takes out Arbok. Now they bring out Gloom and Grimer. I see 2 poison types, so I think to myself, I'm gonna go for Magnitude 6 again, maybe I'll crit and kill both of them again. But then Gloom uses Mega Drain and basically one-shots Havel. And that is our second death of the run. In comes Smo, and with one aerial ace, Gloom is down. Dragonaut takes out Grimer with a fly, and they throw in Murkrow. And yep, I almost pooped my pants. With one quad effective wing attack, Murkrow leaves my Smo with only 1 health left. That is basically 1 Ballsack's hair of health left. I switch out to Gwyn and he finishes it using a critical Flame Wheel. And this fight was literally too close for comfort. But never mind that, now it's time for our 6th gym leader battle. I start with Angie and he starts with a Baby Seal. 1 Bullet Seed is enough to clobber the Baby Seal down. And then in comes Daddy Seal. He uses Aurora Beam and I set up a Leech Seed. I also put him to sleep before I switch to Smo. 1 Brick Break is enough to clobber the Daddy Seal down, and now it is time for his Pillow Swine. That goes down after 2 Brick Breaks. And that's it, our 6th gym. And we go right ahead to the next gym, and since it is a steel gym, it is time for Gwyn to shine. We just spam Lava Plume through this gym. This is peak Pokemon gameplay. And now it is time for our second fight against Petro, who was disguised as an old man trying to sneak in a lemon party. He has a full team of coffins, and all level 30 coffins has self-destruct. So naturally I switched to my Angie, and because he is 6 level higher than 5 of his coffins, he outspeeds every one of them. Also, he's the only one that has a super effective move that can land. But that does not mean that he will always one-shot. So he brings Angie to dangerous self-destruct territory, and I switch to Smo. Smo kills 2 of them, but it is brought down to 10 health and it also is poisoned, so I switch to Gwyn to finish it off. And I put an end to Petro's plan to sneak in that lemon party. Now for my second to last rival battle, I switch out from Ornstein to Gwyn because Ornstein is still leveling up, and he starts with his Golbat. He uses Bite, which deals shit all for damage, and I use a Lava Plume that almost kills him. Another Lava Plume and he's a Gunner. For his starter, I switch to Angie that tanks a Water Gun and a Crunch. The Crunch almost kills him, but I do get off a Bullet Seed. So I switch to Sith because I know he's gonna resist his water moves and he's gonna bring his attack down using Intimidate. And using 2 Dragon Rages, Sith is able to bring him down. He brings in Magnemite and I switch to Gwyn, who is able to one-hit KO his Magnemite using Lava Plume. He brings in Haunter and Lava Plume also one-hit KOs him. He brings in Sneasel and Lava Plume does the same thing again. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Going up the stairs, I bump up with Proton. He starts with the Zubat and I start with my Sith. 3 bites is enough to bring him down. For his reason, I bring in Angie, who is poisoned immediately, but is able to one-hit KO using a Confusion. Now smell you later, blue-haired bitch. For Ariana Grande, she starts with an Arbok and I start with Angie. The Arbok lowers my attack down, but luckily Angie uses special attack, so I one-shot it using a Confusion. For her Murkrow, I switch into Sith and 1 Ice Fang is enough to bring him down. For her Vileplume, I use another Ice Fang that freezes it, and another one to bring her down. Now it is only 1 Rocket Dude left. Now for the last blue-haired boob that I'll see in this game. He starts with a Houndour and I start with my Sith. Aqua Tail one-hit KOs both the Houndour and the Houndoom. For his coughing, I switch to Angie, and one confusion is enough to finish his shenanigans. After he leaves, a geezer shows up and asks me about a lemonade party. I don't know. Off to the last gym I go. But before that, I get another encounter on the ice path. A Swinub, which luckily isn't a Delibird. So I capture it and call it Fang Boar. Now for real, it's time to fight the last blue-haired boob in this game. She starts with a Gyarados and I start with my Ornstein. The discharge one-hit KOs her. She brings her Dragonair and I switch to Sith. She tries to paralyze me, but I had a berry and that's gone now. Ice Fang leaves it with 1 freaking health, so she paralyzed me again. She uses an Hyper Potion and this time the Ice Fang brings her down. For her second Dragonair, the paralyzation delays it, but eventually an Ice Fang kills it. For her Kingdra, I switch to Angie and try to set up a Leech Seed as she throws smoke bombs at me. After the Leech Seed is set up, I switch to Ornstein and paralyze the Kingdra using a discharge. Since Ornstein gets too low, I switch back to Angie and I use Seed Bomb. That leaves the Kingdra on red health, which is enough to proc the full restore. The Kingdra almost kills Angie using a Dragon Pulse, but luckily enough I put her to sleep. Now with the combination of Bullet Seed and Leech Seed and her not having a full restore any longer, we conquer the Dragon Gene. Now before the Elite Four I was gonna do some things, and the first one was get a Dratini, which was a guaranteed encounter because I already had a Gyarados, and I really thought that I was gonna be able to evolve it during the Elite Four, but I highly overestimated myself. So I captured it and named it Bale the Dread. Curse you, Bale! And now it is time for those Asian ladies doing whiteface. The first one starts with an Umbreon and I start with my Smo. One close combat is enough to one-hit KO it. And then it is time for the one with the Espeon. I go for a Shadow Claw that almost kills it, but her Psychic leaves me at half health. I switch to Gwen that almost gets one shot by another Psychic, and I use Lava Plume to finish it up. And now it is time for Flareon, so I switch to Sith, and one Aqua Tail is enough to deal with it. And it is Jolteon time, and since I don't have any Pokemon that is strong against electric, I go for the Leech Seed, Sleep and Bullet Seed strategy. And little by little, I'm able to shave at its health. Now for the Lewd one, I bring out Ornstein, and it is a Surf against Discharge battle. Ornstein discharged as she kept squirting water at him, and that's a fanfic right there for you furries. Before the Elite Four, I gotta do this Lugia shenanigans, and as I said before, I was gonna use a legendary for the post game. Since I already had a save on the game and I was using save state, I could not access the post game, so I just used the Master Ball on the Pokemon that I cannot use. And also a ton of Repel to get to Lugia, to make him eligible as the first encounter of the area. And since I like this animation, I'm gonna let it play. So I capture Lugia and call it Placidusax. On Victory Road I catch myself an Onix, another Pokemon that I'm never gonna use, and call it Frampt. This handsome boy that you see on the screen right now. And now it is time for the final battle against this ginger hater that tried to sabotage me the whole run. He starts with Sneasel and I start with Smo. I go for a close combat that one hit kills it. Then comes in the Golbat. And since Smo is quad weak to the Golbat and he has a minus to both of his defenses, I switch to Sith that intimidates it, and 2 Ice Fangs is enough to bring him down. In comes Magnemite, and again my Pokemon is quad weak to his type, so I switch to Gwen that one-shots it using a Lava Plume. For his starter, I set up a Leech Seed with Angie and switch to Sith so he can tank an Ice Fang. And finally I go back to Smo that finishes it using a Brick Break. He brings in Kadabra and Shadow Claw makes another appearance. Haunter comes in and another Shadow Claw is enough to deal with this Ginger prick. And that's what he gets for trying to sabotage me the whole run. Now, before the Elite Four, I decided on my final Pokemon. Instead of getting Dragonair into a Dragonite mid-Elite Four, I've decided to evolve my Piloswine to a Mamoswine. But for that, I need my Piloswine to learn Ancient Power. And for that, I need a Hard Scale. So I go back to Route 32 to get this hidden Hard Scale on this rock. And now we get the final member of our team, Fangbor, the Mamoswine. And for the final iteration of my team, we got Sith, the shiny Gyarados, with Bite, Aqua Tail, Ice Fang and Waterfall. Smo, the Heracross with Swarm that does not have a bug type move. He has the Aerial Ace, Shadow Claw, Brick Break and Close Combat. Green, the Typhlosion with Lava Plume, Flamethrower, Blast Burn and Hidden Power. Ornstein, the Ampharos with Charge, Cotton Spore, Discharge and Signal Beam. Angie, the Executor with Leech Seed, Confusion, Sleep Powder and Solar Beam. And finally Fangbor, the Mamoswine with Ice Shard, Ancient Power, Avalanche and Earthquake. And now it is time to challenge Will. I start with Sith and he starts with the Zetsu. 2 bites are enough to bring him down. Now it is time for Jinx, and even though she uses a full restore, 2 bites is still enough to bring her down. For Executor it's gonna be a little bit harder, so I have to use 4 bites. Slowbro is even tankier, but 4 bites are enough to bring her down. His second Zetsu comes in, and with 1 Psychic he leaves my Sith with 32 health, so I switch to Ornstein, who finishes the job using a Discharge. And now it is time for Koga. He starts with Ariados and I start with Gwen using Choice Specs. 1 Flamethrower kills the bug. For Fortress, who is quad weak to fire, another Flamethrower is enough. In comes Muck, who is not weak to fire, but still 2 Flamethrowers is enough, even though he poisons. For his second to last Pokemon, he chooses Crobat that uses Double Team, but it doesn't matter because my Flamethrower hits it and 1 hit kills it. In comes the last Pokemon, a Venomoth. 1 Flamethrower is enough to kill him. And now it is time for the best Pokemon trainer in the whole Pokemon lore. Standing at 6'8", 300 pounds of pure muscle, great with the ladies. Besides, he is also very rich. Bruno the Boxer. His first Pokemon is a Hitmontop, so I start with Smo. 1 Aerial Ace brings him to half health, then he burrows underground, so I switch to Sith, and 1 Waterfall is enough to finish the job. In comes Onix, the best Pokemon in the whole Pokemon world. I'm gonna stop. Another Waterfall is enough to finish the job. On Hitmonchan's turn, I switch to Ornstein because I know he has a Thunder Punch, and he resists it. He gets paralyzed and I use Discharge. I switched to Gwen and he luckily went for a Fire Punch, and 1 Flamethrower is enough to finish the job. He brings out Machamp and I use another Flamethrower that procs his Citrus Berry. He almost kills Gwen, so I switch back to Sith, who intimidates it and also resists the fighting moves. But I guess it doesn't matter because he brings Sith to half health, so I switch to Angie to set up a Leech Seed, and he almost kills Angie, and I was prepared to sacrifice him, but he survives the second Rock Slide, and I bring back Smo. 1 Aerial Ace and 1 Leech Seed proc is enough to finish him. For Hitmonlee, I know he has a Blaze Kick, so I switch back to Sith, I tank the Blaze Kick, and 1 Waterfall is enough to finish him. And that was the battle against the strongest, most handsome, and richest man in the Pokemon world. For the last Elite Four trainer, we gotta fight Karen, the Dark Pokemon trainer. She starts with Umbreon and I start with my Smough, and 2 Brick Breaks are enough to knock it out. She then brings in Murkrow, and since Smough is quad weak to flying, I switch into Ornstein. For her Houndoom I switch into Seath, and 1 Waterfall is enough to knock her out. Vileplume comes in and I switch into Green. She paralyzes me and crits me, but 1 Flamethrower is enough to burn her out. For her Gengar I switch into Angie. I set up a Leech Seed and a Sleep Powder, and then I use a Confusion, which is enough to KO her. And I gotta be honest, I thought maybe one of my Pokemon were gonna die, but that was it. That was the Elite Four. Now before I fight Lance, I make sure to use the 2 rare candies that I have gathered throughout the game on Gyarados, and I make sure to teach him Dragon Dance. Lance starts with the Gyarados and I start with Ornstein. I go for a Discharge, but he outspeeds me and crits me. So bye bye Ornstein. Since I know Gyarados does not learn a flying move on Gen 4, I switch to Angie, who puts him to sleep. Then I bring in my own Gyarados, Seath, whom I set up with not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Dragon Dance. Then when his Gyarados wake up, I use Bite and 1-hit KO him. In comes Aerodactyl and 1 Ice Fang is enough to bring him down. Then it is Dragonite time. The first one comes in, I use an Ice Fang and it goes down. The second one comes in and I use another Ice Fang and it goes down again. For the third and last one, I use another Ice Fang and it goes down again. For his last Pokemon he uses a Charizard, and Gyarados is basically the water Charizard, so I use 1 Waterfall and he goes down. And ladies and gentlemen, that was my second complete Nuzlocke of a Pokemon game. If you enjoyed, please make sure to maybe subscribe or leave a like, and yep, thank you all for watching and bye bye.